Hello everyone and welcome back to another video, and this one is another request from the same viewer, and this one is going to be about so how do we basically make, let's think about in a multiplayer game or a co-op game, how do we make players talk between each other dynamically. From what I understood, the person kind of wants the players to talk with themselves kind of randomly. I guess if you think about Left 4 Dead or Back 4 Blood, that kind of thing. Now I'm not sure if that's exactly what the person wants, but if it's not, please let me know. And the other thing that I was also asked to do was to basically be able to choose the color or change the color of the dialogue, because right now I made the preset to be yellow. That's very easy to change in the widget, but I'm also going to show you how you can set the color per speaker. And so let's go open up. Now I'm going to be continuing this from the last tutorial. So if you just go into the previous video, you can see the first one if you missed it. But what I'm basically going to do is, if you opened up our example map, I'm basically going to do the same thing. And I'm just going to slightly edit the function that grabs the speaker if we want it to be one of the players. So I'm going to go into this conversation again, and I'm going to edit this blueprint. There we go. And last video, I basically created this speaker. So you can just say, well, it is the player right here. But now I'm going to double click it. And then I'm going to basically, instead of always using index 0, which is going to be the host in the multiplayer game, I am going to basically try to find a random player. So the player index 0, you can basically input you can see over here index in the player control list, starting first with local players and then available remote ones. So local players is basically the host, and then remote ones is clients that are connected. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I need information about how many players are connected. Now there's better ways to do this, but there is a node that we can get, which is called get max players right over here. And this is normally grabbed from the online session. Actually, no, this is not the one that I want. I want the one from the game mode. So you can just type get game mode and then get max players or current players. I forgot the name. There you go, get num players. That's the one that we want. And this is basically, you just need to connect the game mode. Now, I'm not sure if this is going to work specifically in the client-sided class. So I think for now, I'm going to try to use it. And this is a little bit hard to test because obviously in editor it's very hard to see if it's actually working. You need to host a server and see there. But in theory, this should work. And what you need to do is just connect this in the middle and now connect this return value. Actually, don't connect it directly, otherwise it will just get the last connected client. So what I'm going to do right now is that I'm going to get a random integer in range. And the min is index 0, the host, and then max is the number of players connected. Now, because indexes start at 0 and the number of players is going to start at 1, we need to go over here and drag a -1, just so that the indexes match with the number of players, then connect that to the max, and then connect this here. And what this basically does is that it's going to grab a random player in the game and basically use it for the speaker. Now, obviously, you can expand this behavior. For example, if you only want players nearby to you, for example, so you can, for example, just get, let me show you, get all actors of class. Use the whatever player class it is that you want to use. So, for example, if you're using this game or this template, it would be the example character. And then you basically just need to grab from this array of players, grab basically there is you need to create a function to give you the smallest, or not the smallest distance, but the closest actor to you. And then you can basically, or just do like a hard cut. So for example, you check this array using a for each loop, then you get the distance to yourself. And to do that, you can just use let me see, what can you use? Well, you can probably get the player controller because that's client side, and then get the control pawn, connect it here, and then you can basically set like a hard pass, let's say if this is greater than, I don't know, 15 meters, or I guess you want to do smallest. If this is the smallest than 15 meters, then you want to use this player. So you just create an array, a variable, and then add it in and use it to do this randomize. So later on, you can just grab the array, get random item from that array and connect it here basically into the speaker actor. And that kind of does the same thing, but taking into account the distance. Now, I'm not sure if you want me to do this. Again, if you want me to do this, I can do a more in-depth tutorial on how to achieve that. There's going to be a little bit of math to, as I showed you, to check out the distance and stuff, but it basically works the same way. So if you want me to do that, let me know in the comments and I'll try to do it. Yeah, where was I? Okay, so with this done, we'll technically get a random player. So right now we only have one, but if I play no other window, this should technically still use my player here because there's only one.
So, Jane, how are you? It's been a while since we talked.
I'm good. Thanks for asking.
You don't sound good.
There you go. So you could see that the player was the one that spoke. Now it's only getting that player because there's not another player in the game. And now to change the color, you can, for example, do, if you go into the widgets, so blueprints, widgets, in this case, it's going to be the subtitles, and then there's the subtitles box. If you double click that open, you can see that the color of the speaker is always going to be hard-coded to be yellow. But what we can do is basically set this dynamically. So if we go into the graph, or if you want to just change it permanently, you can just change it here. But if you want to make it per speaker, you can go into the graph. And on the event graph, you can, for example, create a new variable and just say speaker color. Make this of the type linear color. Right here. Instant editable and expose on spawn. You can give it a default color. So, for example, let's make it white. And now on event construct, we can go before the tech. We can drag the speaker color. We can also drag the spoken by name. Sorry, not that one. We need to go into the designer and make this a variable. So click on the text. Up here is variable. And then you're going to get access to it right here. Drag it into the graph. Set color and opacity. And then just connect these colors. It might not let you, so you might have to do a make. And then connect that into the specified color. There we go. So right now, if I play, it's always going to use white because that's the default.
So, Jane, how are you?
There you go. So you could see that it was now white. Now what we can do is now set this variable in our code. So if we go back into the function client show subtitles, double click it. It's going to be in the BP text and voice dialog component. Oh, we could probably add it into the function instead of making it the widget. So if you double click that function, you can now drag from over here, connect it over here. It's going to create a new pin, compile and save. And now if you go back, you're going to have this. So you can drag and drop to create another pin right there. And now if you go back over here, you're now going to have a speaker color. And now you can drag this into this function. So there's like a lot of hierarchy in this function. So you just have to keep adding a new input. Let me just make this a little bit more neat. And I believe now we need to open up on the dialog conversation 1 or whatever conversation you have. Just double click the play voice dialog macro. And there's going to be all of this stuff. And now you're going to have this input over here. So you can now drag it into the macro again and create a new input. I just realized I probably should have organized this a little bit better over here because it's really a mess. But yeah, it's okay. Because we are kind of working on a macro, like a a separate macro, there's no way to create local variables for me to organize this. So I kind of am forced to use this kind of spaghetti thing, but whatever. Let's go back into our conversation, and now you're going to have your speaker caller. So now if you go into get speaker by index, you can double click that open. You can see that we have our speakers variable. And so if we go into our s_speaker structure, if we go into core, we have our s_speaker. You can double click it open, and now you can create a new variable and call it the speaker caller. Speaker caller. And make this a linear caller, just like we did in the widget. Save it. Compile. And so now if we go into the event graph, sorry, not the event graph of the master, the actual conversation, you can see that now we have a speaker caller right here that we can now connect here. And this is basically going to be created per dialog theme. So you probably need to override this in every place where you play the dialogue. And now what you can do to set it to default, you can see that the default was black. We actually need to go back into the structure, go into default values, and you can set the default values right here. So for example, I'm going to do that sort of yellowish color I had before, make it the default. And now if we press play, that should be the color that appears.
So, Jane.
There we go. But now I want to make the guy that speaks first a different color. So if I go into the map, select the blueprint, expand the speaker, and expand index 0, you can now set per speaker the color. So I'm going to make Davis here be, I don't know, red. And if I press play, it's going to be red.
So, Jane, how are you? It's been a while since we talked.
I'm good. Thanks for asking.
And then you could see that the following dialogue, the player is now the default color, which is the yellow. Now, another way that you could do this is imagine that you don't want to grab from a speaker, but you want a specific color for a specific dialogue. You just disconnect this and give it whatever color you want. So let me make, this is the player, sorry, not the player one. Oh, this is at the end. I don't want to wait so long. Let's go into the player dialog, and I just want to make the player dialog here. I want to override this and make it blue. So Alt and click to disconnect, change this to blue, and it's going to then take the specific color. So you can really customize this however you want.
So, Jane, how are you?
How are you?
It's been a while since we talked.
It's been a while since we talked.
I'm good. Thanks for asking.
There you go. So you can see that you can really override this however you want. So, and if you want to add any specific setting per speaker, you can replicate what I just did with the color and do whatever settings you want. So it's really up to you. And yeah, I think I'm going to leave it here. I don't think I need to show anything else. Again, if you have any issues or if you want me to explain something else or anything you want, leave it in the comments. I'll be happy to help. And yeah, that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.